ocean gives you a lot of memories. I believe that there's a spirit in the ocean that oversees what survives.
Getting out of here would be hard on foot, but we do have Jacob, so we might survive.
When she is angry, it's Kanuleayu. Spirit of the ocean.
So do you think she probably had a noble mission?
It's hard to say. She can be evil and she can be nice. Just like us, you know, when we get pissed off, we think everybody's no good. Where was this?
It was in the front. In the front?
I figured out when I was very young that if you're bored, you go outside and you go on an adventure. And then you're not bored anymore. And now I'm that same little kid stuck in a 52-year-old body, which is becoming more decrepit than it looks from the outside. As a kid, I just ate up every book I could possibly find on exploration and the, what they call the age of discovery. Yeah, we're looking good, and we're on our way. And I lamented the fact that it seemed like I had been born too late, and I had missed out on kind of like a golden age of discovery and exploration. You know, in terms of the history of exploration, the quest for the Northwest Passage, there's nothing more epic.
We just crossed the Arctic Circle at 1:28 in the afternoon.
The Northwest Passage is a sea route connecting the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, which goes up over the top of Canada. It's just about the closest that I can come to putting myself in a position where maybe I can get a little glimpse of what it was like to be an explorer back in the day when there were still big blanks on the map. This is what I've been dreaming about all these years. I think it's pretty hard to find places in the world nowadays that have been completely untouched by humankind.
Mark and I had always planned on doing a big Arctic sailing trip. Originally, it was supposed to be about climbing, but when he called me, he explained the greater history and the meaning behind this trip.
I think a big part of, what's drawing me in is that the Northwest Passage as a trade route is turning into a thing. And the poles are melting really fast. And the Northwest Passage is opening up.
Incredible. We've been dreaming about this for 15 years. It's a long time coming.
Wow! Holy shit, that is freaking cool! It's a wilderness unlike anyone I've ever seen. It's just big country and very exposed. And Jacob is 62 years old and has lived here for his whole life.
I'm Jacob Keanik. I'm from Johaven. I'm a nomadic person. My parents had to move into the community when it was a very, very small trading post back in 1965. My role on the expedition is to keep everybody safe and make sure that we all come back home safely at the end of the trip.
Jacob was a conservation officer for 13 years, tagging and doing research on polar bears. He's one of the only guys in Johaven that still provides food for his whole family from the land.
God, this place must have been cool. Jacob's just a good dude. I mean, one thing that people need to understand is we're very close to the north magnetic pole here. So compasses don't really work. So it does make navigation really tricky. Jacob doesn't do GPS or anything. He just sniffs his way through. We had just glorious sailing conditions. We had calm seas, we had sun, we had the wind behind us. We're just right there at the right time. Felt like the right time. It turned out to not be the right time. It was the calm before the storm. This chunk wasn't on the ice chart, but it's pretty thick. Tiny bit disconcerting that there's chunks that we can't get through that weren't on the ice chart. It's a little weird, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's not enough to show up on there. Do you think if we go close to it, we could just find a little channel through? Not here? Okay.
It's too thick. To understand the ice, it takes a lot of knowledge. You have to know a lot of ice conditions because there's different types of ice in the ocean.
Are they dead ahead?
It's extremely stressful to be in the fog and to be amongst ice. What you realize when you're out there is that no one's gonna come rescue you when you're in the fog. There's no helicopter, there's no nothing. You can't fly a helicopter in fog. So it's not like you can just hit a button and get rescued. Like, you're totally committed to self-reliance.
We may not get out. What's going north? I don't think north is an option.
Then we got news about a brewing storm that was building. We were gonna get caught in the crux of the route. Right when this was happening, there's a bay, it's a known place. It's a Northwest Passage refuge that has been used for many, many years. So it made sense. Ride out the storm. The Inuk name for Pasley Bay is Cagliarock. What that means in Inuktitut is Drum Circle Bay.
We named that Drum Circle Bay because the ice never stops. It's always dancing. That's why it's called Kariorok.
The Inuit name was before.
Way before the English name was given. Just like as Inuit, we had to have English name in order to go to school.
My ancestors are called Inuit, the nomads. They have no home. The whole world is their home.
Ever since I was a little kid and I was reading stories about this place, I've always wanted to come up to the Northwest Passage. But there's some aspects to the west for the Northwest Passage which I think haven't really aged well in terms of the way people are looking at age of discovery and the age of exploration.
We were out in the land until I was 5. When missionaries and education became important for our Inuit people. They have to move to the community to get their kids educated. That's how it started. Way that I was treated in school when I first started going to school. Because I had caribou clothes, I had caribou pants, I had caribou mitts, I had everything caribou. They teach me about it.
The Northwest Passage is a made-up thing that is kind of absurd, really, when you think about it. The Inuit had already paddled through there thousands of years. They went from Alaska to Greenland. They traveled through the Northwest Passage. They knew exactly where it was. But to them, it wasn't the Northwest Passage. It was just different hunting grounds that they would move through on a nomadic basis as a way to survive in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. You know, I think probably in my lifetime it will turn into what the early explorers kind of dreamed that it would be, a passage between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. And there's gonna be more going on, and none of it's black and white.
I don't think there's any doubt that all of these Inuit communities are going to become more exposed as the world becomes more and more connected. The question really is, are the Inuit communities and their cultures going to benefit from it? Or simply going to be the stepping stone for more commercialism, more extraction?
There's good things and bad things about the Northwest Passage. There's lots of opportunities for our people in the community to get employment. But, you know, like I always say, there's always downside. Our younger generation is losing their language, they're losing their culture. Our ancestors' way of life has to be preserved so that we don't lose our way of survival.
The ice is the most powerful force that I've ever had to contend with. I mean, I've spent my whole life in the mountains. I've seen huge avalanches. I've seen giant chunks of ice drop off of hanging glaciers, and I've seen big, heavy stuff happen in the mountains. 6 people got blown off the ridge that were on the fixed line that I just clipped into right here. But I've never seen anything like the ice in the Northwest Passage.
Only in that piece right there. We'll hook up a bow line and whip us around. Whoa, fuck. Go back, go back.
We thought the next morning we'd have this little window when we could sneak out. That was our whole plan. But what happened was, overnight, ice had come in and had encircled the entrance to the bay.
Yeah, I can see it. It's a big piece.
You can't push the ice out of the way. We tried. It was like, you know, more than a mile of solid pack ice. I mean, it was impenetrable. There was no going into it. Anybody could see that. You can't put a boat through a solid wall of ice. And that's what it was.
We can't push off anything. Yeah. We got nothing beside us, Ben. Yeah. Take more.
We're gonna hit the river.
In the mountains, it's like you can kind of understand why things do what they do. But out on the frozen ocean in the Arctic, all you can do is just deal with what you can see, with what's right in front of you.
Ease up, ease up!
Nice. It's hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Barely escaped that little narrow gap that was closing in on us. Really close call.
I still have no idea. The way that the chunks swirled around, the way they broke apart, the way they came together. It's a total mystery to me.
I think we're fucked. This is exactly what we didn't want to happen.
The ice is very, very dangerous, especially when it starts packing up.
Getting trapped in the ice was the thing that I had always been the most afraid of. I'd read about this, of the early exploratory expeditions in the Northwest Passage. The ice comes in, it packs around the boat, then it gets super cold, it all freezes up, there's nothing you can do about it, you're totally helpless, and now I'm looking at losing my boat. See the dark red? Yep, that's where we are. Getting out of here would be hard on foot. It'd be really hard, but we do have Jacob, so we might survive.
Yeah.
Drone's going up.
I see what I see is continuous ice. 85 miles, we have one scrappy beat up old tent, we've got a stove, we've got a gun, we've got rations, we've got Jacob. Only if the boat sinks, which is not gonna happen. That changed so much from yesterday.
Let's hope it changes by tomorrow. Whew.
Spicy.
Spicy. That's what we're here for, right?
That's 9/10. That's a big chunk of 9/10 right up against the shore.
Yes.
So that's not happening.
We've got to grapple with the ice at some point.
You can't do that if you're in a bay that has 9/10 blocking it. You can't go anywhere.
No, you can just try and kind of force your way out of it.
I would just say imagine if it was your boat.
Probably would, but I'm interested.
So
to
that's
know
all
that
I'm
you-
saying is that it's not an impossibility that could happen. When I first started thinking about this voyage, and the question was, is it safe to make a trip through the Northwest Passage in a fiberglass boat? And there's sort of like a saying in the sailing world is like the best boat for the given voyage is the one that you have. And that's the boat that I have. So if this was going to happen, it was going to have to happen in Polar Sun. And Polar Sun was built out of fiberglass. And she's a tough old boat, but ice is really tough too. So Jacob, you haven't weighed in here. What do you think?
It's hard for me to say right now, Tomorrow is a day we look at how the ice condition is from both the land and maybe on water.
I mean, I was having some pretty desperate thoughts about what I was gonna do. I didn't want to lose the boat. Polar Sun is like part of my family. One of the things that hit home from the time that we spent out on the land on King William Island is the traces of the early expedition that are still left.
Every time I go south, everything is man-made. You're walking on man-made roads and sidewalks and, there's no natural ground. We'd like to keep it this way. Some of us, we don't believe that we should make a mess of our land.
It's not okay to lose the boat. It's not okay for Drum Circle Bay. Like, abandon the boat. Like, I can't do that. I have to fight with everything that I have to save the boat.
For some reason, this ice is flowing like sideways.
This is really our first day, maybe of the whole trip with no wind. I think team morale is definitely getting thin. And moving the boat from here to there, trying not to let the ice do things we don't want it to do.
Every day, the situation here in Pasley has gotten a little worse. There's only so much driftwood on shore. We really do need to conserve the wood.
Nuliayum lo atsakirauluni anga kakimalaktunga nuliayum miktaimal tauktat kane nuliayum me atsakautut amihoulu. Taima nalunaktukam atane tatareu nuliayum at ko rin at tsaka lang akrap sinig. Nalunak to kalaw sige nakaayok taka.
There was a light west wind, and the ice was on the move all of a sudden. I mean, it wasn't clearing out of the bay, but it was loosening a little bit, and the west wind was pushing it just a tiny bit offshore, so these leads were forming right in by shore. It's just like loose pack.
Sure, can we weasel in between a couple pieces of pack?
I don't know.
The ice is never still. Remember what Jacob says. It's always moving. And if we move, if it's just a game, we have to move towards the entrance whenever we can. If we don't go anywhere, we have zero chance of getting out.
The ice is slowly starting to break apart. The pieces are crumbling. And there's a chance we might break free.
We had to decide if we would stay and take our chances or go for it. And so it was like, start the engine. We're gonna do this.
Okay.
We're gonna hit a little berg, but not too hard.
I think our best bet is to
Hard
go
to
in.
port! Slow down, you gotta slow down. You gotta reverse. Reverse.
Oh, that was a fucking hard one.
Yeah. Keep going to port. Oh,
Okay,
I
you're
see
good.
that there's open water, and then there's a tongue of ice that sticks out that we can go around.
I'd say we're
See it.
about 10 minutes from total promised land. Home stretch, open water.
Renan's at the masthead, parting the ice like Moses so we can get through.
Looks like we might make it out of here.
I see clear water, man. It's like no ice in the water. Just a quarter mile ahead.
We're in open water, boys. Holy shit. Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah!
Mark.
Woo! Hey!
Part of the adventure is getting out and learning. It opens your mind and your body.
Pi tapkwat narbako lugit tayo makataktusugala miyo nga pi baka makatangitsugala tunga tapkwat utingitsu binit ubab tito makita tayo maana kingole kirailo utsaka maalutidlo tapkwat utingitsu binit at konam makitsutik tamakmi at konakto nalunangitsu ilit palyanak takubala luni bi inohokto nilo takokatangit bi inakniw lakalakso nilo takubala lugi ilit palyanak tusugala.
Being out there with Jacob, it showed that we're part of the ecosystem too. The beauty of the Arctic, for me personally, lies in the fact that for the most part has been untouched, undisturbed by humankind. You know, the Inuit have lived here for thousands of years, and they haven't altered the landscape in any way, shape, or form. And if we can document it and show the world how beautiful it is, then there's a chance that people will know and care about it. And so we can all kind of celebrate the spirit of adventure that's part of all of humanity.